Quietly, Kudzu lets us into his trailer, opening the screen door slowly so that it doesn't creak. He motions us inside, and Jenna follows in behind me, pressing close. I suppose she has good reason to be wary of the place. She doesn't really know Kudzu, and at this point, it's hard to even trust people that you do know.
Yeah, Leo.
Kudzu closes the door and slides the locks in place. Jenna stands next to me in the small living room area, arms folded tightly around her body like she's hugging herself. Hey, you want to sit down? I gesture at the recliner, which Jenna stares at for a few seconds.
I don't know.
The fox's ears are twitching around and pointing straight up. I turn to the small love seat set against the wall instead. Maybe there? I can sit with you. After a few moments of staring at the couch, Jenna finally nods. She walks stiffly over to the couch, looking at it for a moment before finally sitting down. I notice 3 clumped up patches of fur on the back of her neck, and it takes me a moment to realize that it's dried blood. Had someone attacked her? Had she hurt herself? Jenna still doesn't relax when we're settled, and is instead sat bolt upright, leaning hard against my shoulder. Much like her ears, her eyes are darting around, mostly over the curtained window to our right. Meanwhile, Kudzu elects to sit in the empty recliner after turning it a little to face us. The scraping sound it makes on the floor causes Jenna to jump. Kudzu pauses, blinking, then settles back into the recliner.
Sorry, I really should put a rug under this thing.
Jenna doesn't say anything, and instead just looks back at the window. Kudzu shifts awkwardly in the chair, then looks at me. I look at Jenna, trying to think of something to say. Jenna beats me to it.
Do you know where the others are? TJ or Carl?
Not even gonna give a thought to
No
Flynn.
one cares about Flynn.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're at Leo's place. Them and Leo. Jenna frowns at me.
Then why are we here? Let's go.
She starts to stand up, but I reach out a paw, grabbing her arm. She flinches and yanks away from me, standing up fully. Sorry. Just hold on a second. It's complicated.
Why?
Jenna takes a step back from me, folding her arms. The look in her eyes is worrying, like she's starting to not trust me. Look, Leo, he's kind of uptight right now. I guess I just wanted to give him some space. Give myself some space, really. Away from him. Kudzu shifts in his chair again.
He kicked me out. Things got a little heated between us.
Jenna looks at Kudzu, the deep frown still on her face.
Why? Leo wouldn't do that without a reason.
She looks back at me, as if wanting some sort of confirmation. I nod. Leo isn't really himself right now. I'm really worried about him.
Can we go over there and talk to him?
I open my mouth, but I pause, trying to think of the way to say it. I don't know. Not right now. I'm not leaving Kudzu, so I'm gonna have to think of a way to get Leo to calm down. I'm also considering just staying separate from him until we get out of here, but I don't want to tell Jenna that. She looks stressed out enough as it is. Now that I think about it, I wouldn't be surprised if Leo is out there, hunting for me right now.
And honestly, like, being with Kudzu is kind of a liability for him.
It can go very badly.
Like, it almost seems like it's bad that you decided to go follow him, because your ex-boyfriend's gonna kick his ass. Like,
yeah.
why are you doing this to Kudzu?
You talking to my otter?
Oh my God. It's really strange when it's like my otter. It's like a romantic term of endearment. Just imagine calling someone that. My otter.
Odds are that he's going to come here eventually. Maybe. You know,
yeah, he's gonna fucking
the nearest landmark.
Yeah, he's gonna fucking look for you here, because it's where where else is he gonna fucking look?
Maybe he jumped the train already.
He thought that was a dumb idea, remember?
That also, he's very fixated on Chase.
Yes, he wouldn't jump on the train without Chase, and he also thinks the train thing's bullshit.
Yeah. That reminds me, though. Oh, yeah. We think we found a way out.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently a train goes through here every once in a while. We're thinking we can hitch a ride on it. Jenna takes that in, then just nods. The silence drags out for a minute or two before I finally lean towards her again. It's okay. Just sit down and relax for a minute. She does so, with even more hesitance than the first time, sitting on the couch cushion like it might be a landmine. So, where were you the past few days? If you want to tell me, I mean. Jenna stares at the floor, then shrugs.
I don't really know. It's kind of a blur.
I nod. Yeah, same.
I guess it happened 3 days ago? I don't remember, but everything was normal until TJ woke up. It was like he was in a trance or something. I wasn't sure what was wrong with him. I thought he might have been having a seizure. Then I thought he was in a psychosis of some kind. He left the motel and started running, so I followed him. He ran all the way to the lake, and I was sure he was going to go in. But then he just stopped on the shore and stared at it. I caught up to him and tried to talk to him, but it was like I wasn't there. All I could say was your name, Chase. Chase, where's Chase? I think he was looking in the water for you.
Jenna looks right at me.
I don't know why, do you?
Of course not. I shake my head. I have no idea. Liar. The couch tilts.
And so I sort of grabbed his shoulder to lead him back away from the lake. But then he turned on me and he sort of just changed.
The water changed that day. My head spins and I brace my paws against the armrest, trying not to fall over.
And he attacked me, clawed me up.
And for the first time... Jenna sticks out her arm and pulls back some of the fur where I see bits of crusted blood. You knew what water felt like.
I had to run from him, and he chased me for a while.
To everyone else.
And as I did, I realized the whole town was different. Everyone was different.
Suffocating. I swallow hard, still gripping into the couch. But Jenna doesn't seem to notice, and Kudzu's looking at her. The humming in my head finally starts to die down.
You say he's at Leo's. Is he okay? Did he explain what happened?
I shake my head, but only a little. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. No, but he has been acting a little strange, I guess.
I need to talk to him, make sure he's actually okay.
We will. Though I'm not sure that she'll find him okay at all.
So, what happened after all that? It looked like you were hiding out there.
Kudzu gestures a paw at the window. Jenna covers her face with both paws, sighing deeply.
That I'm not too sure about. After I ran, it all just sort of became a dream. I only remember bits and pieces.
We wait a moment as Jenna seems to think.
I remember I went back to the motel, I think. But then I saw something.
Jenna pauses, then lets out a little, humorless laugh.
A thing that I remember from my childhood. A monster, I guess.
Oh. A monster?
Yeah, like this thing.
Jenna waves her paw in front of her face.
Had like a red face, and I don't know, I thought I saw it in my closet a few times as a kid. Felt like it was chasing me. What do you think it was?
Jenna laughs hollowly again.
Oh, I don't think it's anything. I must have had my own little breakdown after seeing everyone else's.
Jenna sighs deeply again.
That's not gonna come up later.
Sitting back in the couch. It's either going to come up soon or it's foreshadowing something in her route. Or some kind of childhood monster.
Then you guys came along, and now I think everything is clear. I like Kuzu's face, when she's like, she's fucking
concerned.
talking about monsters. She doesn't know we actually saw one.
No.
So
Jenna leans back for a moment, breathing deeply again, and for the first time, it seems like she's relaxing a bit. She turns her attention back to Kuzu.
Hey, Kuzu, is it?
Kuzu nods.
Mind if I use your restroom? I just need a moment to collect myself. And pee too. An actual toilet would be nice. Oh. Yeah, just right there.
Kuzu points at a thin little white door between the kitchen and the living area.
Thanks.
And with that, Jenna disappears into the bathroom. Kuzu and I sit in silence for a moment, listening to the sound of running water from the faucet. Well, I think now we have a reason to go back to Leo's house. I know he won't be mad at you if he knows you found Jenna.
I don't know about that. But yes, we're going to have to go back with her.
I'll talk to him first, in case he's still out of it.
Again, thanks. I am glad you're here with me right now.
Kuzu rubs his arm awkwardly.
I get panicky when things get physical, which they have a lot lately.
I gesture at the cushion next to me, and after a moment of hesitation, Kuzu gets up from the recliner to sit next to me. I reach around him and squeeze him to my side. It's cool. Like I said, you saved my ass so many times at this point, it's the least I can do. And then Leo walks in right now.
Yeah, I know, I was just thinking that. He's like, his face is like in the window. He's like,
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be so scary.
I almost tell him that he's been there for me more than anyone at this point, but that feels like a bit too much right now. Kuzu chuckles and leans back, his arm brushing mine.
I didn't always used to be like this, you know.
What?
A fucking coward.
I scrunch my muzzle up. What? No way. You've been insanely brave. Kuzu shakes his head.
Nah. You saw me at Duke's house when you got caught, and then down in the basement, then when Leo tossed me out.
Those were all great reasons to have been scared, Kuzu. You still faced all of it. Kuzu looks unconvinced.
I don't know, Chase. After what Leo did, I don't think I was going to come back.
I shrug. Well, then I'm glad I came after you then. Kuzu's quiet for a moment, then he chuckles quietly, leaning his head back to stare at the ceiling. What?
Just... I moved to Echo to get away from stuff like this.
Echo
Echo?
Kuzu shakes his head.
Now look at what's happened. It's fucking ridiculous.
Like, people going crazy?
That, and guns and violence. Peyton isn't a rough city compared to the others in the country, but it has rough patches. And I lived in one of those patches.
I think you told me you moved here because there's less people. Kuzu sighs quietly.
It's not the only reason. I lost someone a few years back. I needed a fresh start, I guess.
The silence drags out for a moment as I contemplate that. My eyes drift to the picture frames by the love seat, the one where someone had their arm around Kuzu. In it, I see a hare, smiling just as toothily as the raccoon next to him, a good head taller than his companion.
Oh,
He's
bunny,
gay!
Whoa, big surprise in this visual novel. What? Another gay guy? Weird. What a coincidence. There's like all these gay guys like hanging around, you know, each other, like with all this tension and stuff. Like, except for Carl, who bitched out on us at the last minute.
Carl realized he doesn't need us. Now he's going to have a whole happy life of realizing...
He had a girlfriend
right,
at the
Chase
end.
is a disaster.
Broke my heart. What the fuck?
That's a good ending for Carl.
Yeah, good for you, Carl. Like I said, she's not gonna have that big dick like you wanted on your girlfriend. Okay, just remember that. Anyways,
She can buy one.
She could, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that's probably what their relationship looks like.
Grab the ram by the horns.
Oh my god.
We're in the middle of a horror scenario.
Oh yeah, oops. But now look where I am.
I snapped my eyes back to the raccoon, not wanting to be caught looking. I don't know what to say, so I just settle with, we're gonna get out. Just gotta listen for that train.
Mm-hmm.
Kudzu has his eyes closed, so I lean back too. Despite all the shit going on outside, there's something really peaceful about being here, next to Kudzu and his neat little trailer. We sit there a while, listening to the soft rush of running water. After a while, I look towards the bathroom, realizing how uncomfortably full my bladder is right now. Jenna doesn't seem to be coming out anytime soon, though. Listen, I gotta take a piss. Famously, nothing bad happens when we do this.
Famously, nothing bad happens when you go outside by yourself in the dark.
Yeah.
To go take a piss.
To be the guard that gets taken out first.
Yeah. Again.
Kudzu smirks at me.
Yes, it does happen like more than once in people's lives, Kudzu.
Well, yeah, it's been a few hours. I pee a lot anyway.
Oh yeah? Very good to know.
What?
What?
Yeah, I'll be right back. Kudzu's joking demeanor suddenly drops.
I don't know. I think we should stick together right now. Remember what happened last time? Yeah, like when Kudzu went to go piss and then you got hit by a car.
You want to watch me? Hold hands?
Oh, oh. I was trying to think of the logistics of holding hands and then also holding
There's a really stupid
dicks.
meme image of two dudes standing at urinals, their pants dropped like butters, and they're holding hands while they pee.
I love.
It's the funniest fucking picture.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. I love in South Park when Butters pees and he takes his pants all the way down and he lifts his shirt up with both of his hands and he sings. Lulu, I got 2 apples. Lulu, you got 2 too.
And just no one will ever address that.
It's just so.
He'll just keep doing it.
It's honestly very cute. Like I love Butters is my favorite character in South Park.
Kudzu pauses.
I'll stand in the doorway, all right? Just go by the side of the trailer.
All right. I head back outside while Kudzu hangs back by the door.
Just make it quick. And again, yell if something happens.
It's fine. I'll only be a few feet away.
Fuck, we're facing that creepy background.
Yep. I hide a small smile at how motherly Kudzu's being right now. After everything that's happened, it's no wonder. I move around to the side of the trailer, back into darkness. Quickly, I unbutton, then zip down my fly. I start to go when I hear some footsteps behind me.
Oh, fuck. No. Those are fast. Those are fast
I
ones.
look over my shoulder. Kudzu? What? And then 2 massive paws wrap around my body.
It's the man.
I think it's Brian.
Oh, no!
Right when you're trying to pee, too. Why can't anyone pee successfully in this universe?
Just don't do it. Everyone stop
literally,
peeing.
like, it's literally the same thing. Like, last time Kudzu peed and one of them came running out of the darkness.
Yeah, like I said, just stop peeing, guys.
Also, we saw a monster in that moment. Maybe it was the one that Jenna saw. Because I don't think it matched the one that we saw outside. I look down and get a glimpse of thick claws and brown, matted fur. I scream as I'm pulled back into the dark towards the desert. I know who it is immediately.
No.
The smell is unmistakable. That and the high-pitched voice cursing as he drags me along through the brush.
Chase!
Kudzu's scream seems like it's only a few yards away. He's going to catch up to us, and then I don't know what.
It'd be nice if you had a gun right now.
Yeah, this is the worst case scenario. Like, none of us can fight Brian. And Jenna's just gonna be like, they're gone.
Honestly, I would question if all of us together could fight Brian. Like, Brian's really fucking big.
He literally survived a gunshot to the head.
Yeah.
trying to fight Brian off, I guess, but just as I'm thinking that, Brian picks me off the ground and practically throws me. The next thing I know, my head is throbbing as the back of it knocks against something hard.
Pass out again.
My legs are all splayed upwards, my foot pads pressed against something smooth and cool. A wheelbarrow? I hear more cursing and the sound of snarling. Kudzu? Then I hear the sound of a car door slam, and I realize I'm in a truck, my feet pressed against a windshield. Brian's massive bulk squeezes in next to me, and I feel the truck accelerate. The backside wobbles back and forth in the sand as it tries to find purchase in the ground. Then we find the road, and I'm pressed back in the seat as Brian steps hard on the gas. I scramble upright into a seated position, pressing back as far as I can against the door, away from Brian. He doesn't seem to be paying attention to me right now, with his eyes fixed on the road. My heart hammers in my chest. I can't even start to comprehend what's just happened to me. Is this real? Am I dreaming? How did I end up fucking things up so badly again? Brian takes a hard turn and I almost tumble into him. In a panic, I kick my feet against his side, keeping myself upright and against the door. The big bear grunts and glances at me before fixing his eyes back on the road. He just doesn't react, doesn't matter.
Yeah, what the fuck are you gonna do, Chase?
Open the door and fall out?
Yeah, but then he's gonna just come back and get you.
Just get lost in the darkness. That'll go well. I quickly draw my feet back, pressing my knees against my chest as I try to hold onto the chair to keep from falling over. I realized then that Brian must have been waiting for me, waiting outside Kudzu's trailer for a perfect moment to grab me. I'd given it to him by idiotically skipping outside to take a piss, the rest of which I can smell wafting up from my pants.
The results of which, so you peed yourself.
Yeah, great. That one, great. I'm like, yeah, someone's gonna grab us while we're peeing, so that's just active hose, let's go.
Yeah.
Are his pants even on right now? I guess he just opened his fly, yeah. I don't care, though. Everything is numb right now. My mind is racing, trying to figure out how I'm going to get out of this. My paw automatically reaches back to pull at the door handle. It's locked. My paw feels along the door, looking for the lock. My finger passes over a small hole where I assume it should be, but it's smooth. It's like the little nub for the pop-out lock is missing.
Yeah.
Or it's been cut off.
Yeah, of course.
Swallowing hard, I keep searching and my fingers come across the window crank handle. I tentatively start to roll it down, but it's clear that I hadn't thought ahead as Brian immediately notices the drafty air. He lunges at me, one hand still on the wheel. I scream and dodge out of the way, falling into the footwell as I try to escape his massive paws. He doesn't grab me, instead of reaching for the handle and rolling the window back up. The truck swerves back and forth as he does, for a moment. And for a moment I'm sure he's about to roll the whole thing with how fast we're going. He finally sits upright again.
Do that again and I'll knock you out.
And still he doesn't look at me. It's only then that I notice the stark difference his demeanor has now compared to the few times I've seen him. There's no lust, no animalistic drive to fuck everything around him. Instead, there's a sort of desperation about him. I see his eyes dart around in the glow of the headlights, the fur all over his face matted down from sweat. I sit there in the footwell, staring up at him, gripping onto the seat as his head knocks back against the glove compartment. After a few minutes of erratic driving and swerving, I gather my wits enough to speak. What are you doing? Brian's eyes flick down towards me, then back up to the road before he shakes his head. He does it slowly, like he can't believe something. But he doesn't say anything, at least not for a while. Then after what could have been anywhere from 2 minutes to 20, he speaks.
Can you tell me the truth, boy?
I sit there quietly, contemplating making a jump for his door, to open it and tumble out into the desert. If I wasn't badly injured enough, or even if I survived for that matter, maybe I could make a run for it. What truth?
What's going on in this town?
Oh my god. I squeeze my eyes shut and let my forehead thump against the seat. But only for a moment, so I want to be able to keep an eye on Brian. I already told Duke I have no fucking clue. You were there. Brian grunts as he continues to stare out the windshield, clearly thinking about something. I can't help you, or anyone here, Brian. I'm just trying to find a way out. That gives me an idea. Wait, I might know a way to get out of here. If you let me go, I'll tell you. As soon as that comes out of my mouth, I wonder if I've made a mistake. Brian doesn't need to let go. Brian doesn't need to let me go to get me to tell him what he wants. I'm alone here with him, and he can do whatever he wants with me. And I'd probably tell him whatever he wanted to hear. But he surprises me with what he says next.
Escaping isn't gonna fix any of this. We're all still gonna see the same shit.
I wait, but he stays quiet. It takes me another minute to work up the courage to ask. See what?
You know exactly what.
He screeches at me with his high-pitched voice, and the truck swerves precariously. I can imagine the tires sliding off the road for a moment before Brian corrects it.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
He says more gently, taking deep breaths to calm himself. Then he looks down at me.
Don't you?
I swallow hard, wanting to find the right answer, but unsure of what that might be. Like, when Duke saw something on the ceiling in the diner? That's the first thing that came to mind. It's something that Brian saw with me. He lets out a cold guffaw.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, Otter. That and every fucking thing else.
The truck takes another hard turn and I brace myself in the little well. I swerve, and the swerves and turns are becoming more frequent. I can't really see out the window, but I'm pretty sure we're headed into the mountains. Was that creature thing going to attack us? Should I warn Brian?
But we've all been seeing shit for a long time. Even before this crazier shit started a few days back.
Is he headed for the mine?
Ooh, maybe.
Is he gonna throw us in?
Maybe.
There was a hole here, it's gone now. Brian glances down at me once again.
Haven't you seen stuff here?
My mind immediately thinks back to when I was a kid. I'd seen plenty of things, plenty of horrible things. But the psychiatrist had said that that was normal, that sometimes kids hallucinate. I noticed that Brian's not wearing his seatbelt, and I start to toy with the idea of grabbing the wheel. Again, I might be killed. It would at least stop Brian from taking me to wherever he's taking me. It might even be better to die. Maybe, but my parents, my friends, they haven't really seen stuff. Except Jenna, and now TJ, and Carl after all this started. Brian grins with his crooked and missing teeth.
Seems we only see shit if there's a reason to. I don't know what it is either, but from what I've seen, it's a combination of a shitty experience and being an echo.
The truck is slowing down a little now, as we start taking sharper turns. Brian's calmed down at least, but it also means that we're definitely deep in the mountains at this point, the road having turned to gravel.
When I was a kid in Peyton, I didn't see shit, even though I had a pretty fucked up childhood. My mom left when I was 6 because my dad was a piece of shit. But you know, she's a piece of shit for leaving me with him. Anyway, you know where my dad told me she'd gone?
I don't say anything until Brian looks back down at me expectantly. Where? Brian cackles and it sends a chill up my spine.
That aliens had taken her.
I press myself deeper into the well, wishing I could just disappear into the floor.
I think he must have been drunk or high or both, but it stuck with me, you know.
I nod, trying to keep the bear happy as he drives along a road so curvy it seems impossible in my mind.
Then, when I was a teenager in 87 or so, I got myself a boyfriend. Well, more of a fuck buddy. We kinda hated each other. He talked too much, but he was a good fuck, and the only faggot I knew, so I came here every other week or so to fuck him. But then something weird happened on my second or third trip out here. I remember the moon was red that night, 'cause of the forest fires out west. And I kept looking at it, and that's when I saw a flying saucer, like one straight out of a cartoon with lights and a dome thing on top. I couldn't believe it, but it was fucking and was
It was fucking.
it was fucking. I couldn't believe it, but there it fucking was, floating through the sky. And you know, even though it looked stupid as fuck, I knew.
Brian takes a big, wide turn, and the truck slows more and more until it comes to a rumbling halt. My ears ring in the silence as Brian continues to stare out into the night, the headlights lighting up his face.
I knew I saw it, and it was fucking evil. I just knew it.
Brian finally looks down at me again.
That night and almost every night after, I'd wake up and couldn't move, and aliens would be around my bed. And there was this one alien that I knew was my mom. She didn't look like my mom. She looked like an alien. Which can mean anything, Brian. But I just knew it was her, and she'd do these things to me. Sometimes to my mouth and eyes and nose, but usually to my dick. Torture me, and it felt fucking real.
Brian chuckles, still staring at me.
Fucked me up good, and I blame my boyfriend for it, for bringing me to Echo, because I was sure that's where the evil came from. I outed him that year, and he had to leave town because of it.
You fucker.
Oh, that was Keith, right?
Oh.
That was Keith.
That was probably Keith.
Yeah.
The massive bear shakes his head.
Didn't stop the dreams, though.
Brian puts the truck in park, then shuts off the engine. We sit there in the darkness and silence, and even though I'd just emptied my bladder, I feel like I'm gonna piss myself again.
Never told anyone that before.
I don't say anything as I just breathe through my mouth, trying to make as little sound as possible.
There's something fucked up in this town that makes us see things, feel things from our past or some shit. Duke told me about it, how it's been happening a long fucking time, but he thinks there's a way to fix it.
Brian suddenly opens the door and jumps out. He slams the door hard enough to make my ears pop. For about 5 seconds, I will myself to move, to run, to open his door and sprint into the night. But my body refuses to move, and before I know it, the bear's yanking open my door and grabbing me by the wrist.
And if you help me out with this, we can be done with it for good.
He pulls me out roughly. My legs are like rubber when he sets me on the ground, but he holds me up easily with his paws on my arms.
Can you promise me to help? Then I'll let you go and we'll be free of the evil, okay?
All I can do is nod dumbly.
Alright, it's gonna be okay, Otter. I promise.
Brian transfers his iron-like grip to my wrist and starts to pull me along. I stumble after him weakly, trying not to trip in the darkness. Brian stops next to the truck bed and starts to rummage around inside. I feel like I'm gonna pee again. What do you need me to do, though? Brian finally pulls something out, and it looks shiny and heavy. I open my mouth to scream, but that's when a burst of light comes out of one of the ends of it. It's a mag light. I stare at it, gaping stupidly. Brian sweeps the beam of light around. All around us is gravel, sagebrush, and some cacti. I have no idea where we are.
I need to get something, and it's in a place that's too small for me to squeeze into. I need your help to get it, okay?
Okay, but what is it? Brian ignores me, looking around. He seems to settle on a direction and sets off, pulling me along with him.
Anyway, it makes me think. All these ghosts and UFOs and monsters people see in the woods, I think they're all connected somehow.
Yeah? I focus on trying to keep the bear happy, pretending to be interested in his ramblings. Meanwhile, we're not even on a trail, just pushing through thick brush and sharp rocks.
Yeah, like little bits of echo are everywhere in the world. Some small like a house, some huge like a town.
That makes sense. No, it doesn't. None of this makes sense. But I have to focus on getting away from the bear. I know I should have made a run for it back at the car, but there's no helping that now. We walk for maybe about 100 yards. As we do, the land starts to incline and become steep. Brian even slips up a few times, and I'm worried he's going to fall on top of me. Each time he manages to catch himself, then yank me up after him. After a few minutes of huffing and puffing, we reach a bit of an outcrop with some large boulders. Brian lets go of me and clambers up the side of one, and before I can even think of running, he's turned around and grabbed me up by the scruff. I squeak as I'm lifted into the air, feeling like a pup again before I'm set down beside the bear. Picking somebody up by the back of the neck is such a strange concept.
Especially with all these anthropomorphic things, it's like kind of a gross image.
Just carrying you by your skin.
Yeah.
Brian looks around, keeping a hold of my wrist as he does. After some stomping and looking around with his flashlight, he seems to find what he's looking for. He brings us to the edge of a boulder, then he lifts me up again, this time by the wrist. I kick around for a moment before he lowers me slowly into a dark, spacious hole. I start to wonder if it's going to go down for a while, and I panic, before my feet touch down on the soft, cold dirt. Musty, cold air wafts from the black space in front of me. Immediately, Brian drops down next to me, snatching up my paw again. He shines the light into the dark patch in front of me, and I see what looks like a narrow tunnel burrowing into the side of the incline we're on. What is that? I don't like this part.
Dude, is it gonna be one of those horrifying situations where a person has to like climb on their belly into a crevice in a rock surface?
It's something small enough that Brian can't fit inside.
I know, but what if it's so small that like we have to crawl on our bellies? I hate thinking about people doing that.
Brian grunts and starts to pull me into the opening, but I pull back. Brian yanks me hard, and I feel like he almost dislocates my shoulder. I yelp loudly.
Shut up.
Brian hisses at me as he turns sideways to better fit into the tunnel.
It's the mine, you idiot.
I called it.
Yeah.
What? I look back at the opening, back towards Echo, gently illuminated by moonlight. I thought it was sealed.
It is. This is a back entrance. Duke told me about it years ago. Said his family's known about it for decades.
We push through for a while until we come to another tunnel. This one twice as wide as the one we were just in. This is getting extremely night in the woodsy.
Yeah.
He's just gonna take us to the hole and throw us in. This'll fix the problem.
Ew, no.
It branches to the left and right. Brian stands there for a moment, inhaling deeply as he looks around.
Hang on. It's been a while.
I can't help myself from blurting out. You don't know where to go? I expect him to hit me or something, but he ignores me. Finally, he pulls me to the left. The idea of being trapped here with Brian, lost in a mine, is more terrifying than anything that's happened in the town so far. The air is so musty and dry, I feel like coughing and sneezing at the same time, but I try to hold it in so I don't upset Brian. We walk for another 10 minutes or so, taking a few more turns. I try to memorize the route, in case I'm able to break free, but after 5 or so branches, I realize I can't remember the second or third. Brian suddenly speaks up, nearly making me jump in the darkness.
After a while, I stopped seeing aliens.
His grip is tight, and I can feel that the circulation to my paw is cut off. It's like I'm just a mass of pins and needles at this point.
Now I just see people.
What kind of people? People you know? I try to keep Brian talking while I think. At some point, he's going to have to let go of me again, and it's then that I'm going to have to make a run for it, no matter what. Kudzu probably saw which direction we drove off in, and he probably went to Leo to get the car. But at this point, I doubt we're going to be able to find it. I doubt they're going to be able to find us, at least not in time. Get the car? Went to Leo to get the car. We don't have a car, do we? We walked here.
Yeah. We don't have a car.
The car's in the lake, and Leo's tires are slashed. Unless they wanted to drive that. We went into the mountains, probably through some back road that none of us even knew existed. Then Brian took me through hundreds of yards of desert to find a tiny opening behind some boulders. There's no way they're gonna find me here. I'm on my own.
Well, I see just one person, but the person changes every now and then.
Brian pauses, looking to a narrow opening in the tunnel wall, even more narrow than the first passage.
Depending on who it was I last knew.
Before I can figure out what he meant by that, I'm shoved hard, forced to enter the passage in front of Brian. It's just wide enough that I can walk straight, my shoulders nearly touching both sides. Brian, on the other hand, has to suck in and move sideways, grunting and cursing and making all sorts of noises. Brian's let go of me as he tries to pull himself through, though he keeps knocking into me to send me forward. I could try to escape, but I have a feeling that doesn't exist ahead of me. In fact, it feels like I'm being trapped. I can't explain it, but I start to get a terrible feeling that something awful is waiting for me at the end of this passage. And then I start to smell something. It's old, and almost covered up by dust and mustiness, but it's definitely there. Sweet and sick, something rotting. It feels like ice water is pouring down my back and I freeze, only to be given a shove by the bear behind me. I fall forward into a wider opening. The smell entombs me, but I know without looking that I'm surrounded by death. I lay there on the floor, not moving, listening to Brian as he tries to squeeze through the opening. I can remember, years ago, when I was maybe 12, walking along the dirt road back home after hanging out with Carl. On the side of the road, I saw some roadkill, and just as I passed by, I could see the white maggots writhing through the fur.
I wonder what their roadkill would be.
I don't know. The smell for that single moment was almost unbearable, and I gagged and ran past. And while the odor in here is a bit more faint, it's almost exactly the same. I hear Brian finally shift free from the exit, and he shines the light back down on me.
Oh no.
If he could get through that door, the way that just came, that's actually his chance to escape, because he can just go straight through it and Brian struggles.
Yeah.
So they've created a buffer. I know I should run. I know I should get the fuck out of here. I know I should be fighting like hell, because I know it's coming. This is my hole that was made for me.
Yeah.
Is this what it's like for people who get kidnapped or murdered? People wonder why they didn't fight harder, or run when they had the chance. I should have ran the second we stopped in the truck, but right now it's like I'm stuck in ice. My frantic thoughts are interrupted as Brian grasps me by the back of the shirt and pulls me back up to my feet. I'm not able to stand and just sort of crumpled down next to him. The bear grunts and just drags me along into the little opening that we're in, dropping me against the wall. As Brian fumbles with the flashlight, I get a glimpse of my surroundings. It's small, maybe 15 feet long and 10 feet wide. It's not very small, that's like the size of the room we're in.
Yeah.
It's narrow enough that Brian takes up most of the space, and I'd be hard-pressed to get past him.
I mean, if you put a bear in this room, though, it would take up most of the space.
It's a surprisingly large space he's describing. I draw my knees up to my chest and hug them, feeling numb. God, you're such a useless piece of shit. I watch Brian lean over something against the wall. It looks like two long, polished pieces of wood. Brian tips the flashlight down, and I see that those pieces of wood are attached to a shovel and a pickaxe. Brian grabs the pickaxe, and for a heart-stopping moment I think he's going to turn it to me. But instead reaches into his pocket and pulls out something small and rectangular. It's not until he opens it and shines his flashlight on it that I see it's some kind of small notebook. The bear looks at the notebook, then back up at the little cave we're in. The silence is almost unbearable, and I feel the need to say something, if only to fill that silence. What are you doing?
You know exactly what he's doing.
Brian ignores me as he continues to search for something. I whimper softly in the back of my throat. Please.
About to be murdered, and you just beg like a little bitch.
Shut up. I can't help it as I hiss through my teeth at that goddamn voice. I don't need to hear it, especially now. Brian stiffens and turns around.
What?
I shake my head, squinting and unable to see his face as the bear turns the light on me. Nothing, I just...
No, you were talking to something. Did you see someone?
No. I don't know. I shut my eyes against the light and only see blood red. Brian chuckles and my vision goes black. Goes back to black as he takes the light off me.
I was the same way as you. Let me tell you something, though. Ignoring it ain't gonna make it go away.
Brian finally stops scanning the ground and crouches down. It takes me a moment to realize what he's looking at until he reaches down and picks it up. A smooth stone. Brian looks at it for a moment, thinking. Then he drops it off to the side and looks back down at his book.
Daniel. 19. Ferret. He was the smallest, I think. Should be enough room.
Brian shines the light down at the ground for a moment, then seems to make up his mind as he sets the butt of the flashlight on the ground. It brightly lights up the ceiling, leaving us in a dim yellow glow. Brian eyes me for a moment, positioning himself so he can watch me while also doing his work. Crouching over, Brian starts breaking through the hard surface of the dirt with the pickaxe, grunting with each stroke. He can only do short swings, the ceiling too low for Brian to even stand up straight. At this point, the smell of Brian has almost overwhelmed the stench of death. I guess it's one of the few things I don't mind his smell covering up.
Why aren't you at least trying to escape?
Because he's in the way.
Because you're a coward.
Why the fuck are you talking to me now? I thought you left.
I never left. You know that. You felt me even after you left the town.
I shouldn't have come back.
Probably not.
No, seriously. Like, you shouldn't have.
I'm going insane.
Brings back memories of my old life.
I'm going insane, and it's bringing back all my old demons.
No, I think it's because you're in the mine. I think you figured out that it's the source of everything, haven't you?
The voice I've been trying to ignore all week has changed. It's not vague or insidious anymore. It's more natural, like a real person. More like what I used to hear when I was a kid.
Well, I was a real person. Sometimes I even doubt I am that person.
Is it Sydney?
That's honestly...
Do you hear Sydney?
That's what I've been thinking when this happens. Especially because
I was a real person.
That last bit he was talking about how the water felt.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah.
It chuckles, and I feel the back of my brain itch. I don't like that thought.
Oh.
More like a... What do you call it? A simulation?
It waits for an answer, but I don't want to talk to it.
Oh, stop pretending I'm not here. You can feel me. You've felt me looking over your shoulder since you got here.
I let my head thump against my knees, closing my eyes.
Well, Really ever since Sydney.
Oh, so maybe not.
Just ignore it. But I can understand. Even I feel as though something is controlling me. It's the oddest thing.
Hey.
I snap my head up, jumping as I find the bear staring right at me.
The hell you mumbling?
Nothing. Brian chuckles again and reaches across the other wall, grabbing the shovel. He starts digging up the loose patch of dirt in front of him.
Yeah. Keep it to yourself, I guess. But like I said, you ain't the only one.
Brian gestures behind him with a thumb, toward the ground. I look and see nothing except a few stones on the ground.
After Rachel back there, things got way worse than aliens for me. I saw her at night, crawling on my ceiling, peeking out from under my bed, staring at me from my window.
Brian grunts as he digs the shovel deep, then lifts, turning a pile of dirt out to the side.
So did Duke. Drove him crazy. Turned him into a speed addict. Not that I mind. He was always my most reliable customer.
The sick, sweet smell starts to grow again, and it's starting to become overpowering. I feel like I should keep him talking, get him comfortable, and buy some more time. Should you, though? Who's Rachel?
Duke's wife.
I try to remember what I know about Duke's marriage, aside from the fact that he isn't married anymore. I realize then that I do remember Rachel, but just barely. She was only around while I was in grade school, and it was pretty nice as far as I can remember. Didn't he divorce her? Brian shrugs as he stops digging, resting on the handle.
I guess he sorta did. But I mean, she was dead by then. They wanted my stuff, but didn't have the money, so I cut him a deal to fuck for the drugs instead. I mean, I can't say I like bitches at all. Annoying and whiny. But she let me go way farther than Duke ever did, so I mainly fucked around with her.
Well, just everyone apparently.
Yeah.
It's not hard for me to picture exactly what fucking was.
Then one day I guess I went too far. She died and was buried. We buried her right there. God, that's fucking horrible.
Well,
That's pretty fucked up.
you need to fucking run. Jesus Christ. Brian points more specifically at a rock sitting against the other side of the wall.
And the fact that, just the fact that Duke still associates with somebody who fucked his wife to death. They seem like they're friends in a certain kind of way.
He's a hell of an addict, apparently.
Obviously.
The big bear starts to dig again, more vigorously, lengthening the patch he's working on.
But I didn't see her until right after I buried her, maybe a week later.
The bear shakes his head and laughs mockingly.
You'd think that stopped me from doing it again, but you know, when that last breath came out of her, and she sort of shuddered on the table.
Brian glances up at me.
Blew my load without even touching it. Made me wonder how good it could be with a guy if it was that good with a bitch.
You want him to keep talking? Brian pauses in a sudden spurt of digging and looks up at me again.
Probably wondering why I'm telling you this, thinking I'm crazy. But I don't know, feels good to tell someone. You're like my own therapy, Otter.
The bear looks back down at the hole he made. The smell coming out of it so overpowering, I'm on the verge of gagging again.
I don't see her anymore, though. It changes with each one.
7 stones.
And it'll probably change again.
And with that, the bear comes at me. The space is so small it only takes him 2 steps. I scream and cover my face. Coward. And try to fold up into as tight a ball as I can, but before I know it, Brian has me by the back of my shirt. He drags me over until I'm kneeling next to the hole. I can see it's definitely a grave now. You already knew. Because I can see the bones poking through the dirt, the bits of blue and white cloth that were its clothes. You mean Daniel, the 19-year-old ferret?
I feel like me telling all this to you and me being nice to you so far, maybe don't come back after me. Just move on. Oh.
So much for I'll let you go.
Yeah.
I feel Brian move around behind me, then press something cold into the back of my head. A gun. I guess Brian probably has plenty of those.
I'm doing the town some good after all.
How? I blurt out, my mind racing, trying to think of something, anything to get out of this. Brian does pause, though.
How what?
How is this helping anyone? Why are you doing this? A few seconds go by, and I'm sure I'm about to hear the crack of the pistol, the last thing I'll ever hear. Then Brian sighs.
Again, I feel like I should tell you everything, so you know, you don't have to come back to fuck with me. But Duke, he said this all started when you came back.
I told you I have no idea why. My voice rises in pitch as I start to panic. Duke had already tried to kill me, even after we tried to convince him that I had nothing to do with any of this. Not any of this? Are you sure of that? I feel Brian set his feet behind me, and I can picture him getting ready to pull the trigger. I'm going to die. This keeps happening, doesn't it? This hysteria?
I'm sorry. Remember, this is for the good of the town.
To me, it's like the town holds its breath, letting all the evil build up until it has to let it all out in one big go. Brian grips into my head fur, pressing the barrel of the gun into the back of my head. And you brought a lot of guilt and evil with you back to this town. Maybe that was enough to push it over the edge again.
Rest easy.
So in a way, it is your fault, isn't it? My eyes are watering, and I don't know if it's from Brian's grip in my fur, or if I'm crying. Help me. I say it to you.
That's...
I don't like how this cave looks like a throat. Look to the right. I glance to my right and see something standing in the entrance of our little hollow. It's faint, either because of the dim lighting or because the thing itself isn't quite opaque. It's tall, white, and gangly with its long fingers nearly touch the ground. Its face is heart-shaped, the whiteness of it interrupted by massive, shiny, black eyes in its face. It stands there motionless, watching us. I stare back, open-mouthed. Brian must have taken notice, because the next thing I know, the bear squeals. It's so loud and high-pitched I wince. Brian lets me go, just as the thing moves. It seems to lean forward and glide towards us, but the gliding is stilted, like a film that with half-seconds missing from it.
Oh, I hate that.
It flickers, seeming to turn transparent as it grows closer, the white fading to pink, then a bright red for a brief second before reverting. I'm frozen, kneeling as I watch. Brian backs away and promptly steps on the flashlight. The lighting careens sideways, and I look over to see Brian's foot slip on the cylindrical flashlight before his rump comes down hard on top of it. All light is extinguished, and I can't see the thing or Brian now. I hear him, though, as he lets out another screech of pure fear, like a wounded animal. I hear something else, too. A voice that's also high-pitched, babbling something fast and senseless. It's like a tape recorder being rewound. Brian's screeching impossibly turns up a notch, and I instinctively move forward, away from the horrible sound, and I pitch forward into the hole. The smell engulfs me, and I can feel the hard, knobbly things in the dirt around me.
Where are we going? Just taking a back road. But we're leaving the city. Yeah, well, I live outside the city. You didn't tell me that. Let's just go back to the club. Alright, pull the fuck over, let me out. I said pull over, where the fuck is the lock? You best not be doing that. Hey, get off me!
I gasp and scramble out of the grave, gagging uncontrollably. Once I'm out, I curl up on my side, drawing in my knees again. The horrible screeching and bizarre babbling language continue.
though the sounds from Brian are more ragged now. Occasionally the room flashes with light as Brian shifts around, but I face the wall, not wanting to look. Get up! I curl up tighter, just waiting, hoping that I wake up. You sniveling little shit, get up! I press my face into the dirt. Trust me, there's far worse out there, and it's coming for you, unless you get up and get out. I've given up. They're doing creative things with the format.
Get up!
Get up. You force yourself onto your hands and knees and start crawling into the direction of the exit. You?
Yeah. Yeah.
The flashlight continues to be rolling around, giving you glimpses of where you're going. The sounds from Brian have stopped. Now it's just the mechanical gibberish that seems to be growing in pitch and speed, but you don't look back. You don't need to see that. I'm not... He definitely wasn't talking in terms of you before, right?
No, he was not.
Yeah.
But it changed when they said... It says, the otter's already broken enough.
The otter's already broken enough. Soon you're crawling through the exit, and the cacophony behind you is immediately muted. It becomes more and more faint until it almost disappears as you come out the other side.
Are we possessing Chase right now?
Maybe.
Because the otter's...
We're going Undertale?
Well, okay, because... I don't know, because it when he was about to die, he said, like, I asked for help, like, or Chase looks for help from you. So, did he hand the controller over to us in terms of his life, as if he hadn't already?
Once you're free, you stand up in the comparatively fresh, cool air. The main tunnel. You remember this place. You also know the tunnel is like the back of your hand. It's pitch black, but you feel along the walls. You should be able to find your way out. So so a miner took over.
I got confused because I thought it was going to be Daniel, the ferret, who was in the car with Brian that we just saw that flashback for.
No.
But I think it...
Because Daniel wouldn't know the tunnels.
Yeah, I don't think he would. But it changed when the voice was criticizing Chase for being a bitch and was trying to tell him to get up, and he wouldn't do it. He was refusing to, and so we had the option to say get up, and so I think we took control over Chase. I think we're helping him get out.
You head to the right, down towards the end of the main tunnel, with your right hand dragging along the wall. Then when you feel an opening with your hand, you take a left, then another right, and finally a final right that takes you out the back exit. Nick had drilled the directions into your head far too many times for you to... Nikolai. The badger.
Oh. From the smoke room game.
Yeah. The fucking... The fan favorite fan art character. I don't know anything else about him, but I'm like, that's definitely the same person, isn't it?
Yeah, because you wouldn't spell... Nick, like, it doesn't have a C in it, so it's definitely Nick, short for Nikolai.
Yeah. Nick had drilled the directions into your head far too many times for you to... I like that. Red eyes appear at the end of the tunnel, at the end of the last stretch. You freeze and observe. Things in the mines can hurt you far worse than things outside. Brian had just experienced that. But you're not sure. Is this one of the otter's demons, or... No. No, it's something else. Something you're not quite seeing correctly. A friend. The lizard. He's warped. Chase!
What the fuck?
Anyway,